Hi, I'm Renee Chudkowski, and I am bringing in yet another dessert to the Real Women of Philadelphia cream cheese contest. This recipe is actually kind of a fall recipe, but I make it periodically year-round, especially if I have some sweet potatoes on hand or maybe some leftover sweet potatoes. I call this recipe butter pecan sweet potato tartlets. And I'm thinking, okay, so I love butter pecan anything. I love sweet potatoes, and I love a little dessert after dinner. So that's what I'm going to bring you today. What I'm going to start with is the nuts or the butter pecan topping, and it's super easy how I do it. I take coarsely chopped pecans, and I use about a half a cup, give or take a little bit, and I saute it in about a tablespoon or so of butter until the butter is incorporated. Then a little twist I like to do to just kind of change it up a little bit is I take a very, very coarse salt, either a sea salt or a kosher salt or something like that, and just give it, maybe a half a teaspoon, if that, and just kind of mix it up a little bit. I'm going to toss those together and just let this set aside and cool. I have cooked them already so they could cool a little bit, but it just takes a few minutes to do that part right there. Next thing I'm going to do is roll out the crust for the tartlet. And again, I've been told that I make a pretty killer pie crust, but there are some really nice pie crusts available on the market now. So what I usually do when I'm trying to cut and save a little bit of time is pick one up, roll it out. And you want to flour your board a little bit, or your countertop in my case, and just kind of roll it out. You don't need to roll it out a lot, but just a little bit to thin it out. And I would say this is about a 1/16 of an inch thick. Then you're going to take either a decorative cookie cutter, something about 2.5 inches big around, give or take a little bit. And if you have a decorative one, that's great, although you could cut this into squares or just circles, and you'll see what I mean. Then I take and I cut a dozen little cookies out, or crusts eventually it's going to be. So I already lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I love it when a plan works. Okay, then what I do is I take and I remove the pie crust from the counter and just drop them into any cupcake tin. You don't need to grease it and you don't need to line it. And just kind of drop them in. And you'll see that they're really not coming very far up the sides. They're just kind of settling in, just like this. And this is what we're after, just a tiny little tartlet on the edge, just like that. So I'm going to set this aside and come back and do the filling first. Next, you're going to take a mixing bowl, and a nice comfortable mixing bowl. Then I'm going to add the cup or so of sweet potatoes, and this is actually just one good-sized sweet potato, and I've measured it in, and it has been mashed up just a little bit. I'm also going to add 4 ounces of Philadelphia cream cheese, and this has been softened and sitting out at room temperature. So I'm just going to kind of mix this in and start incorporating it. You can use regular, low-fat, or fat-free for this recipe if you'd like. Next thing I'm going to add in are the egg, 1 beaten egg. Going to give it a little lift. Brown sugar, which is going to give it a touch of sweetness and just a really, really nice flavor. It's got to have a little sweetness in it. And the neat thing about this is I kind of play little games with myself. It is a vegetable, so it must be good for me, right? So, other thing I'm going to add in is a little bit of vanilla. I like vanilla in my desserts. I think it adds just a nice another little layer of flavor, and it'll make your mouth happy. That's a good thing. So this just gets mixed up. I'm going to switch over to the whisk because it does help incorporate the potatoes. So get your arms working. Excellent here. You can see that it's mixing up nicely. It's nice and creamy. There's going to be a little bit of texture to the potatoes, and that's a good thing because it lets you know that this has a very, very hearty down-home flavor to it, and a nice down-home texture. To this, I'm going to add the seasonings, which are cinnamon, ginger, cloves, and a little bit of salt. And that's going to pop in. And I'm just going to incorporate these just like this. And you can see this mixes in. It kind of reminds you of of the holidays. But again, I have these quite often all year round. All right, next thing that we're going to do, again, I keep saying we like you guys are doing anything, but you've got your prepared muffin tins, and normally all 12 would be filled. Then you want to take a scoop of some sort or a spoon, and you're going to wind up filling these, taking all of your filling and dividing it evenly between all 12 tins and the crust that you've already filled it with. All right, we'll pretend like they're all full. And then what you want to do is take your buttered pecans that have since cooled a little bit, and I just take a sprinkling and drop them right on top like this. They're going to stick a little bit when they bake and bake on to give it kind of a nice streusel, crunchy, buttery, delicious topping. So these are going to go into the oven. So I'm going to pop them in over here. And then my dad used to call this TV magic when things were done. Ta-da! These are what they look like when they're done. And I'm just going to kind of ease it out here. They pull out nice and easily. You can see that they're a nice thin little tart. And how we usually serve these is just like that. If you've been good, you can have 2. Just serve them on a plate, sometimes with whipped cream. Most of the time I just like them like this. So I don't mind if I do. These are the buttered pecan sweet potato tartlets. And I'm Renee Chitkowski. Thanks.